Oh wow, I'm sort of missing the beat on this Quackcast at the moment. I just gotta get into the rhythm.
We don't need another hero. Here, we'll get you going.
Oh, what's
We
the...
need to know
children.
Hello and welcome to Quackcast 314. I'm Ozone Ocean, and with me is Captain Baines. I'm giving him a new title. Hello, Captain Baines.
Hello.
That's his voice for being a captain. That's how captains speak. We have Major Pitface, ground control to Major Pitface.
Oi! That's not what people say.
And we have General Tanserine. Hello, General Tanserine.
Attention! I had nothing. Why did you give me the general?
We're going up in rank. Jeez. And here am I, Prince Admiral of the Fleet, Field Marshal Ozone Ocean. So we're going to be talking about heroes and them failing, because heroes are really cool when they fail. So this is Tanserine. She made this excellent post about heroes failing and messing up, because it's a good thing, to have a bit of variation. But first, before we get into that, I want to get into our featured comic for the week, which is something that I came up with, Field Marshal Ozone Ocean. And my feature for the week was Hit Girls, which is a comic by Koi Dog. So, take it away, Ozone Ocean, with Hit Girls. Hello, this is Ozone Ocean, and my feature for the week was Hit Girls with a Z by Monique McNaughton and Daryl Hughes. She's known as Koi Dog on Drunk Dark. This team has also produced the great comics GAAK, G-A-A-K. It's about this alien invader of Earth, and also this great comic Chevalier, which was featured just last year or the year before, about this little Puss in Boots style mouse that goes and swashbuckles his way across this fairy tale kingdom. So poor Isabella finds her life turned totally upside down in a way she would never have expected. But then it gets worse. The ultimate indignity a teenage girl can suffer, being cut off from social media. That tips things over the edge, and when the going gets tough, the tough get weirder. Isabella and her best friend Mary Beth become hit girls for the mob. This is a fun, murderous action comedy from the same team that put you GAAK and Chevalier, as I just said. The pen of Daryl Hughes, he's the writer, and the brush of Monique McNaughton, she is the artist. The art is in Monique's signature style, but it's slightly animified this time. It's all in black and white and grey, but I can imagine that she would quite like to colour it, especially with the descriptions of the characters' colourful wigs at one stage. I think that's the picture I chose for the cover image. It's they're meant to have anime-style wigs, so perhaps she will do a colour version eventually. It's a good little comic about these girls in the mob and earning some extra pocket money by performing hits for the mob. It's a beautifully hilarious, funny, action, violent story in the tradition of those kind of stories about the mob and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I hope you enjoy it. It's an entertaining comic. There's quite a few pages now. You can just get into the story, get into the meat of it. There's enough to enjoy. So enjoy Hit Girls, and it's rated M. And that was featured comic by Ozone Ocean. That was me. I read it out, okay? So you would have heard me. So you already know I'm telling you whatever. Okay, so after that, then I do the featured music. And the featured music is by Gunn Wallace, of course. He does all of it. Baines, you still haven't composed anything. Jesus, you could be our other composer, but you don't do it. Why, Baines?
Oh, who has time for that? You know,
Gun Wallace, he has time, and
he's only got like 2 kids and everything, and
living on the side
lives
of a
on
mountain.
the side of a crumbling mountain, but he still finds the time. I don't know.
He does. He does.
As he slides down across his living room. I don't know.
Slides. So Gun Wallace has given us the music for a comic called The World Outside of Time, which was a comic that Gene Joke featured just the other week. And the comic is done by Lizinverse. And it's rated T, so take it away. Oh, so before I say take it away, I've got to say, okay, the music, I would describe it as a cold, echoing club scene, bleak and icy, with the promise of brief companionship, but not the reality. So there we are. Take it away, Mr. Gun Wallace.
Sensual.
Oh, that's sad.
Profound. How profound.
And that was the music to The World Outside of Time, or The World Outside of Time Omnibus, to give it its full name. But yeah, that's a bit creaky. So we have this topic is when a hero fails, and Tanserine gave us this beautiful picture of a female elf wearing the typical fantasy skimpy armor and being pierced with arrows because she's unprotected in various vital areas, and it's a very entertaining image. I love it.
Yeah, it's a good image.
So, Tance, what made you think of this as a topic?
Sorry.
I just wanted to post the girl in the metal bikini, I guess.
Of course.
What I was thinking at the time, was that often we might be too protective of our characters, formula in a sense. And that doesn't mean that you always have a character that is always successful and he or she is always doing things right and, so on and so forth. But every character has a formula of how they act and react into things. So I was thinking that when you introduce character arcs, usually what you do is that you attack this formula. Like you make this formula not work in a sense. So hence it fails in what the character expects. Doesn't mean that it's failure as we define it. It just doesn't work the way the character expects it to work. And that forces him or her to go out of the comfort zone and try something else, or or do something else, and that helps, produce a character arc, which is very engaging in a creative work.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, basically.
Right.
So, yeah, and this is especially good. I mean, I know that this sort of fits into this often, the story structure, the typical story structure of the hero's journey when the hero's has a the moment of doubt or whatever, and they fail as part of that. So that fits into that, but it also fits into long running heroes, the Superman and all that kind of stuff. Batman, the Flash, whatever heroes you've got, and they can fail routinely, and that makes them more human or makes them more relatable, or gives them somewhere to not just that, but as you write in here, gives them somewhere to go upwards from that, which gives them a little bit of a that story structure for that period where they're having the failure and the recovery and whatever. So it's not just about it's not just a thing, a story, a story structure that's external to them that's only used for the hero's journey. It's something that is intrinsic to hero characters for giving them a story. Exactly. Or else you're going to have the Mary Sue, and they're just shit.
The Mary Sue character is never troubled, really. I mean, everything he or she does works, so there's no reason for that character to develop in any way. I mean,
that's true. Yeah,
everyone. I think that's really what makes them so irritating.
Yeah. Probably. If there's one thing, then it's that. There's nothing to care about. There's nothing to root for.
Mm-hmm.
Any failures are external to them. They're not internal. And when those failures happen, they are there to solve it. They're there to fix everything for everybody because nothing ever bad can happen to them, which doesn't really personalize the failure or personalize what's happening. It makes it all very unrelatable, doesn't it?
What is that?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, it was paper.
Okay. Do you I notice this happens sometimes. It sounds like you'll grab a handful of paper and just shove it in your mouth and eat it. Is that what you're doing?
You're saying it like it's an odd thing to do.
Oh, God.
I'd make you eat those words, but I'm already going to eat them myself.
Apparently done.
After I write them down on this paper.
See, Baines is our resident hero, and this was his moment of failure, and he's going to just go up from that moment.
I had to make it better. I had to do it, figure it out.
He's going to eat bigger bits of paper. Stronger. But, so Mary Sue's can't... They fail Mary Sue's don't fail in themselves. They make the story fail. They make you fail as a writer.
And the one thing I'm thinking that I was going for, I don't think I actually got it across in the news post because I usually write these things when my brain is already overloaded with other stuff. So,
Rexina. Uzo.
On the good days, on the bad days, it's more abstract than that. But the idea I was thinking of was the best instance I could think of was when you have a character succeed in the story but fail in his own eyes on the way that he has succeeded. For example, in that Superman movie, I haven't actually seen it, but what has been reproduced over and over, where he succeeds in reading the city of the danger, which is this the alien guy, and I forget his name as well, by actually
Sod?
killing him, which is
Yeah.
yes, that guy. By killing him, which goes against the principle that the character has in himself. That he actually had to kill him, and he succeeds in actually, making things safe again. But he has also failed.
All right.
For me, that is a very interesting situation.
It's a Pyrrhic victory.
How will he react when people praise, not Superman, but the character that has been in this position? How does he react when people praise him for what he feels is a failure of his own, standards or his own self or, whatever?
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what I was going for more.
Self-failure. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Yeah. But that happens at the end of a story. That's not something that... yeah, that's interesting. So what I was talking about before was something that happens like, what can be like... can drive a story. Because... fighting a monster... Like Hellboy fights a monster, fails... gets better, defeats the monster. So, that's a pretty standard pedestrian way of doing it. Yeah, but this is an interesting thing. So this can be an internal failure of the character that it shakes them to the core, and could be a really character building kind of moment, can't it?
Yeah, and the character is very relatable like that, or relatable in an irritating way if they are, too much holier than thou as they begin. So
yeah, or too much soul searching about their failure, like Shinji Ikari from Neon Genesis Evangelion, worst character in the whole world, only loved by one person called Abbott Nihil.
Oh, is he a Shinji fan?
Oh yes, he is. He's the only Shinji
Oh, is he?
fan.
Oh. Poor Abbott.
He's the only one who can understand Shinji. Yeah, so psychological failure. That is interesting. I don't know if I've done that with my characters. I don't think I have. I think Pinky's just not quite that advanced yet. She's pretty straightforward in her objectives and the way she thinks about herself. I think she would try and justify something that was a failure if it happened, and she would, rewrite her own narrative for herself and say, "Oh, I didn't fail. I meant to do it that way."
Rationalize more than
Exactly. Yeah. Rationalize away. That's the kind of character she is. Her failures would be more external. They are external. Things going wrong and all that kind of stuff that she doesn't expect. And that's how I drive the narrative of my story. What about you guys?
I'm trying to think of examples of sort of succeeding in the outer goal, but then
I was wondering
failing.
if any of your characters had anything like that, because you've got these slice of life characters, and I mean, that's kind of part of life, right? You kind of fuck up on your ideals, or one thing is one way, and then it's not really that way. And so I was wondering if you had anything to contribute about that, Baines.
I do kind of. There's a line, but sort of between loserishness and not wanting to be too much. Making them too much of a loser or something like that. Definitely. I try to make them fail. I've never really thought of my comic in those terms exactly, so I'm not totally sure. But definitely, there's one plot where a character, it's a silly kind of thing where a character's precious collection of video cassettes, like VHS tapes, goes missing. And it's kind of a little bit of a mystery. Like someone's taken them and he's being left messages to find them and all this stuff. And so, and the two, Oscar and TK, the two buddies, kind of fight with each other a little bit along the way. It's sort of a classical style narrative, I guess. And they finally find out what the truth is and where they are, and he gets his tapes back. But then on the last page, he falls on them and like destroys his own tapes, kind of thing.
Oh my god!
So that's sort of
What a loser!
which I love exactly. So I kind of like that, where the entire plot goal ends up like in a second. It like gets destroyed after you win. Then it gets destroyed in some kind of offhand way. Romantic failures are definitely a big part of my comic.
Oh yeah,
Also,
Yeah.
that's very true.
characters really wanting something and then it kind of doesn't happen, and it all kind of goes back to the status quo by the end. So I've done that a couple times.
The status
about you,
quo
Pip?
is very important. Oh yeah, Pip,
Yes.
tell us.
What?
I don't know if I do have anyone who's blatantly failed yet. Like if it's coming up in the comic, there might be something with Tread, but yeah, not really. Because it's still very much in progress. Like, I mean, you could say maybe Bones has failed to get back and save everyone, but like I think he doesn't feel all that torn up about that.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I don't know, he's kind of in the middle of the road about it. Like he blames that more on the Septicans than himself.
Hasn't he failed to be king of Septica?
No, he thinks he's still going to be king of Septica. He still calls himself king of Septica.
He does.
Just nobody else does. He just calls himself that, but to him that counts.
And no, that's also very interesting, because that's the same thing in like the reverse of the same thing. Like everyone else calls failure, and the character doesn't.
Yeah, you're right. It's the
Or
reverse.
doesn't.
Yeah, they definitely think. Well, Gretchen thinks he failed, big time.
Yeah, she definitely does.
She knows who to blame.
Yeah.
Without Moonlight, the characters are always failing at various things.
Always, yeah.
It's set up that way.
Actually, they have. If we take it objectively, they have actually succeeded so far, but nobody realizes it because everyone feels that they haven't done what they wanted to do. So, but if you plot down the actual events, you have the ones that have failed up to now are the Nazis. They haven't gotten their microfilm. They lost the captive. They haven't actually managed to procure any other intel on the matter. So
Sounds like
it's
someone's
really
getting fired.
yeah. And they just got their safe house raided,
Yeah.
like ridiculously raided, and the ones that should be partying are the ones that are actually, grieving. So, which again is, I think, an issue, because they are focused on, they are paying attention to different things more than the clinical, let's say, progress of events. So it rains so much on their parade that we don't actually notice that it is a parade. So that's that.
She's talking about her good guys this time.
My good guys, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because it wasn't kind of apparent that you changed from talking about the Nazis to like your heroes, your saviors of democracy and good.
But the one character that is about to go through, two characters that are going to go through this sort of arc, the one is Diomedes, who has succeeded in in eliminating the traitor, but it's not exactly as he thought about it. And the other one is Orestes, who is the leader of the resistance pocket that they are in, and he's going also to succeed in one of his goals, and that is not going to be as he thought it was. It is good. Okay, I messed up the tense, but anyway, you know what I mean. So these two guys are going to go through a development, I'm hoping, exactly because they succeeded where they should actually have failed in order for them to feel better. So, it's that.
Interesting.
What about classical heroes that fail and have that as part of their story? I mean, either an internal failure or an external failure. Well, of course, we mentioned
Jean
Superman,
Valjean.
Hellboy, characters like that.
Jean Valjean.
Jean Valjean, of course, yeah, the Les Miserables. Les Miserables. He classically does, yeah, both external failures and internal failures, and he blames himself for all sorts of things. Lots of soul searching with Jean
To
Valjean.
the point that you want to shake him until he stops.
Can you go too far with the failure? Can that be too heavy? I mean, obviously with Shinji from Neon Genesis Evangelion, but like you said,
Where he's rendered like almost useless to the plot. Like,
yeah,
like why are you here heroing if you're not?
Yeah. I think
Maybe that's to say. What was that?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say. I mean, maybe that's confusing the point and say, because I mean, if you're the main character of a story, it doesn't mean that you have to be a hero at all. But the failure character-wise comes then if they're not redeeming in any interesting way at all, then having them not accomplish anything at all that way is when it becomes detrimental to the story.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It just becomes kind of depressing, and people would like tune out or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, depressing still isn't bad. Depressing, at least something is happening. But what I'm saying is characters, and now I haven't seen all of Evangelion, so I also have to go on as what you're saying and what I've heard, like, you know, Bennett the Sage go on about and all sorts of stuff like that. The guy that you turned me on to, so go figure. But what and other people talk about is that this character, he really doesn't seem like, although he doesn't act in the heroic sense, he also doesn't really accomplish much of anything else. So that's when they become like kind of, why are you here? So I don't think that you have to be heroic to be the main character of the story. You don't have to be heroic, but do something. Even be depressing. That's fine, but do something.
No,
So
now
maybe
that
that's when it
you-
doesn't work.
Now that you talk about that, that actually reminds me of characters like Kafka's characters are like that. They are depressing to the end. They never get a break, and usually they die in the end, or they commit suicide. And
A great character arc there.
yeah, but still they do accomplish a lot of things in that spiral of death that they are in, and they do get across a lot of messages, and they do get to realize things, and sort of they become like a bit of a submarine into depression for the reader,
Yeah.
and you are allowed to see the blackest of black, but because the character actually is active in realizing a lot of things about his environment, about society, I mean, depending on which work you are reading, it's not useless. You don't come away from the works of Kafka feeling that you wasted your time reading. So
Yeah, that's okay. So he isn't taking it too far with his characters in
No.
his work. No.
but he comes very close because some of the works are unbearable towards the end.
Yeah. So you have to sort of. Well, then I would say you take it too far when you alienate your audience, or when you want your audience to, or not, when the audience loses interest in the work, when it comes too cringy that they can't really go through with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's a very good point. I'm trying to think. Like there was this horror movie that I saw, and it alienated me and pissed me off because there was no redeeming element in the end. Like there was no reason not to grant success. There was no reason in the story not to grant success to the characters and everything. And it threw me out of the narrative in a sense.
Okay, yeah.
But I cannot remember for the life of me what movie it was.
I thought that was the reason you hated Dead Snow, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. Could have been the first movie, right? The first movie, I think, was the
Yeah,
one that
because
I
we
liked.
watched that together, and I'm all like, "Kids, watch this!" And then
I like
fun.
almost I like 95% of that. I really liked it, but I wanted some sort of catharsis in the end, and you're not giving at all, and that pissed me off. But Dead Snow 2 was better. I like that.
I've got to see this. This is about the Nazis coming back to life and shooting everybody.
Yeah, man.
Nazis
I like it.
So
It's more of like it's well, Oz, you might.
Sorry, go ahead.
Pitt, continue.
What? No, it's fine.
I would enjoy it.
I'm trying to think of if you would, because I liked it because it's gratuitously violent. It's one of those things, but I know with you, you're kind of on the edge with that.
Oh, okay. So it's not funny then. I thought.
It's fucking hilarious. I think it's hilarious.
It is funny.
Oh, yeah.
It is funny, yeah, and that's the point. I mean, it sets you up with the hilariousness of it, and you expect it to have the story progression of sort of not exactly a parody, because it's not a parody, but of a critique of films like that. And it doesn't give you that in the end. So.
Okay. Oh,
Well,
right.
You might like
it depends. It wasn't that's not what you wanted, Tanya, but I think it depends on I got what I was expecting at the end. I wasn't expecting
Exactly. That's why I'm saying that I think Oz will like it. Exactly because I think that he will get what the movie is offering
Okay.
much more than I do.
All right. I will look into that and watch All the Heroes Fail.
Yeah, they fail very flamboyantly.
Yes, they do.
And I have to say something else, that if I watched it now with the mindset that I have now, I would probably enjoy it fully. So that might also be a thing. Like it depends on where your audience is at the time that they are seeing or, but consuming your creative product. So, yeah, they might enjoy it in different emotional states, let's say, or on what needs they have as an audience.
Okay.
So it's really, there is an element of subjectivity to all of this.
Yes, very much so.
Yes,
Yeah.
very
Well,
much. So.
especially when you're talking about as we were, what initiated that was how the audience responds to it, and how much you can take
Mm-hmm.
of heroes failing, and internal failures, and how cringy you get. Of course, that is a an individual kind of thing, isn't it? Because not all of us cringe the same amount.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Abbott Nihil is a case in point. He can take Shinji for all his cringiness and still come through the other end. Special case. But for the rest of us, we have a slightly lower tolerance for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was just
That's
thinking,
true.
one of the key moments, I think, one of the key characters having a moment of failure was, if any of you guys have read it, The Hobbit. Bilbo has this,
Yeah, that's what I thought of right away when we started talking about this.
it's a desolation or whatever it is, doesn't he? With Smaug, before that, all the dwarves start to leave him for some kind of perceived issue, and it's like a really heavy moment in that story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember much more of it than that, but I do remember that was quite a heavy moment. Did they do that in the film?
I haven't seen it.
I haven't either. I saw the start of it and I thought, this is too crap. I hope all these guys fail and they kill themselves. Like a Kafka movie.
I think they focus more on the dwarves versus elves than the Hobbit per se.
Yeah.
The way that I have seen it being presented, but take it with a grain of salt because I don't know.
I saw the start and I thought, okay, he's just gone and written his own movie. So this has nothing to do with anything. That was weird. But Bilbo has his moment of failure and doubt. And classic, even more classic than that. The Bible. Jesus has his moment of failure and doubt, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. I mean, just before, committing himself to what was coming, he did say, "No, do not want. Nope. Please, let's abort mission."
Yes, exactly.
Because that's the human element in it. I mean, and that's actually that moment is, in my opinion at least, what makes what follows even more impactful.
Yeah,
Right.
He says,
Because
"God, why
he's
have
not
you
an
forsaken
automaton
me?"
that says, yay, let's go get crucified, that's tragic.
Why hast thou forsaken me? That's
Exactly.
that's classic. That's like a template for heroes having a moment of failure and doubt. And the reason that came to my head was I was thinking of the classic Rolling Stones song. what was that? The
Sympathy for the Devil.
exactly.
Jumpin' Jack Flash, I think.
And the other thing that I would like to mention, I mean, before we, have to wrap this up or anything, is that that thing happens to a character. That character might actually change to something completely different, or they might not be able to handle it, and they might fall apart, at least for a good amount of the story after this, because these things are very, very threatening to one's personality when they do happen. So
Yeah.
the possibility does exist, and when that's why I usually am very cautious, and I don't present many instances like this in my characters, because I'm afraid that they might not survive.
It changes the whole character's integrity, man. Like, it's just...
Exactly.
I just want to
might
say
have, like,
integrity. It's my word of the day.
Awesome. It's an awesome word. And because that could be even the point where a character becomes a villain, from hero goes to being a villain.
Yeah.
if they completely shed the previous set of morals or the previous set of modus operandi, and they become something completely different
Yeah.
because of that.
Right.
So it can, it not only an internal failure, but an internal change of character. Oh my God, huge, huge. So you can. It's a good thing to do that, to use that to build your character and to really make them have a really well-rounded personality and arc to do it, isn't it? I mean, really. I suppose you would have done that with your characters, Baines, with their moments of doubt and failure. They sort of internally change a bit, do they? Or would you say no?
I'd say in very slow motion kind of thing.
Very slow.
I think they're very slowly growing up, but very, very slowly. Especially since I haven't posted a comic in a couple months. But
You've never posted a comic.
Since I've never posted it, it's going very gradually. No, I think at least the intention is, and maybe it'll become clear later, if and when I get back to posting more regularly, that the characters are failing in what, like, the things that they crave and their romances and their various schemes and stuff like that. But in the way that really matters, in a sense, like maybe growing up a little bit and like really sort of figuring out what they're about and like being, better people in a small way.
Yeah.
I think they will find growth there, even though there's hopefully as many failures as possible along the way.
You evil author.
You will be an unforgiving God, Baines.
But they'll get somewhere good, I mean, that's what I think. When I think of heroes failing, I think of Rocky or something like that, where the whole plot goal, like, he loses, spoiler alert, but really he wins,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like we said before, it's fine to do it as a story structural thing, have them, fail and then fight back and improve themselves because of this failure. It gives them somewhere to work up towards from, this. And you can also have them, going great, and then just chuck them down a pit, and then have them sort of climb out. So, you have that little hill-like structure going slightly up, and then reaching a small peak, and then crashing right down. That's the Rocky kind of thing, isn't it? Really, because he wins in the start, and then he has that failure, and then he has to
right.
That characters that go through this sort of thing often exist in the Godfather trilogy.
Okay.
Like, I don't remember the names because I haven't seen it in years and years and years. But we have the character that has remained, outside of the family sort of, activity, and he gets sucked into it because of events and because staying out of it and keeping himself, morally at a higher standard than the rest of his mafia relatives just doesn't work anymore. And then he completely gives into that, and he becomes this entirely different character. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it was the Al Pacino character, but I might be wrong.
Michael Corleone, is that right? Am I wrong? I don't know. I'm usually right about everything, so I haven't had my moment of failure yet.
I don't know, man. I mean,
You have no character arc
something
yet.
like 20 years. Okay, that's sorry.
Yeah. Well, that's a good one to mention. Yeah. Well, you can think of any like classical, well, not even any classical, but any good superhero film, and that will generally follow that pattern in some sort of way. Although I think these days they're sort of, especially with the Marvel movies, they're moving away less from that and having their characters sort of just, well, no, they have a lot of introductory or origin stories for their heroes. That's why they don't really have much of a failure. So their characters...
I think this latest movie, Logan, the way that, I mean, I haven't seen it, but what I have heard from the reviews and everything promises to have this sort of thing.
Okay, yeah.
Was it based off his origin story?
No, I think it's really loosely based on this comic, Old Man Logan.
Oh.
Which is about like Logan as an old man, obviously, in the far future, and he kind of goes on this journey. But it's very loosely based on that. But it is its own thing. Logan is, I mean, it's I don't know, 20 years in the future, 10 years or something, and all the X-Men are gone. You know, Professor X is 90 and kind of very seriously ailing, and Logan is keeping him safe and keeping the world safe from him, or trying to, because Professor X is losing control of his mind, which is this powerful telepathic thing. And now that he's losing his marbles, kind of like he's very dangerous kind of thing. And, then stuff happens. It's a very kind of a classical type narrative with a lot of surprises inside. Like a lot of the usual turns are done the opposite way of the way it would be done. Awesome movie, but it definitely has a classical kind of structure, I would say. You know, things are introduced, and then a new element comes in, and rising action and whatever, and then things look really bad, and then whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil anything, but awesome movie, definitely.
You've ruined it for everyone, man. So.
I know.
Logan. Yeah, well, that's a good one to watch. Wolverine, the character, he's been in many, many, many different films now. Poor old Hugh Jackman has had to reprise that character so many different times. And I don't know, does he have many failures? I suppose he must do, that's all. But you wouldn't really notice it, so if he does there...
Depends on the story that the character is in, I think, because really, you get the entire range when it comes to Wolverine.
Yeah, you have these super corny, like terrible things, and then you have great movies. Kind of everything. And he's got movies where he's the hero, and then movies where he's kind of the point of view character, and movies where he's kind of the mentor character, sort of. And, it's kind of. He's all over the place.
Yeah.
That's why I'm kind of glad that there's never really been a Lobo movie, because, like, movies like this, I mean, the first one is fine, and I'm not ragging on any of the movies with Wolverine or anything like that. I haven't seen most of them. But, like, this is totally off topic, so I should probably just shut up. But
No, I want to hear this.
Yes.
Well... Because Wolverine is such a one-dimensional character, where the way I feel the movies would pan out, and we've probably seen this with other characters as well, is that, like, the first movie kind of gets it down, right? Like, this is this character, this is the appeal it's been, whereas the sequels, they have to do new things with it, and that's kind of where it falls apart, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
They have to reinvent it somehow, or do, and that's not good for Lobo, I don't think. So, and nobody knows who it is anymore. So they're like, Deidre, what the fuck are you talking about? Nothing. Just go back to eating your Fruit Loops. And it's fine. I was just rambling, 100% rambling. Yeah.
You wouldn't want to see like a character arc for Lobo sort of made out of thin air that ruins the character kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel it would be too forced to, like Like if it were to have to be a bigger movie, then they would probably have to do things like, make these big overarching, I don't know. They'd have to, like I said, they'd have to reinvent it somehow.
Give him a
Or
serious
just-
sidekick. Hopefully.
Yeah, or like, like he's really not such a bad guy. This is what I fear would happen. Like on the exterior, he's a badass, but underneath, he really we want to hint that he really actually cares for people. It's not Lobo Man, and that's exactly what would fucking happen if they made a bunch of Lobo movies. So I'm kind of glad he's been neglected by Hollywood. He doesn't need that shit.
Well, they did give Deadpool a bit of an outing and have him fairly true to character. Apparently, not that I've ever read any Deadpool, but he doesn't really.
Yeah, but if
care
they
that
make
much.
more movies, though,
Which they are.
I mean, yeah, are they making more?
Well, there's another Deadpool. It's coming out pretty soon, I think.
Is it? So we'll see how that is. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But
That's tougher for a standalone character, though. I think you might be right. I mean, Wolverine kind of does care about people deep down. That is his character already, so he's okay.
yeah,
Plus, it's a team. A lot of the movies have been X-Men movies. Even though he's the central character, there's a lot of other stuff going on. You're not stuck with trying to come up with new stuff for Wolverine. And, then you could put it... And I didn't see the solo Wolverine movies, actually, but Days of Future Past was awesome, and they made Wolverine not the protagonist, really. He's kind of the engine of the plot in a way, or kind of like the mentor character or something, who goes back in time and has to explain to young Professor X, and then young Professor X is the kind of the character with the arc in that movie.
Yeah,
So,
that was a really
it can be
good movie,
done.
that one. I've seen it twice now.
Those-
I enjoyed
yeah,
it
it's so
even
good.
more the second time.
Yeah.
I think, it can be done, to have a character that doesn't care about, being good or constructive. It will be very entertaining and everything. It depends. You need a very good script in order to do it, because he has to be entertaining and fun in different ways than actually being relatable from the angle of, being a good quote-unquote character. But I do think that you can sell a character like that without problem if you focus on the stuff that have made him a success.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
Lobo is successful. So
You can look at a character like Blackadder in the early series.
exactly.
He's lovable, but he's a bastard. Well, not in the first series, but second and on from that. Yeah, he's a bastard, and he doesn't do anything that's endearing.
Self-serving. He backstabs everybody
Exactly.
at the
yeah.
top of
I wouldn't say that it's impossible by any means. I'm just saying that's just what I fear, because I think, you do need a good writer to be able to carry something like that. And I don't know if necessarily a lot of people, especially in the Hollywood market, are equipped to handle that kind of thing
Not
in an
equipped to do
ongoing
much.
sense.
You're right. Yeah, past one movie, it gets even harder to sort of... you can sort of have someone still has to be dedicated and dig into the comics and understand what makes the character work, and then you can present that. But then in future movies, like Lobo 2, Lobo 3, then what do you do kind of thing, when you start having to deepen the character. I think you're right. I could definitely see that being tough to do one, but really tough to, if they went to, try to do sequels and stuff.
Especially in the superhero realm, man, because I think there's just a vacuum, a pool especially these days, to continually make superheroes kind of unfold and unpack, and all this stuff. And
Yeah. Look what they've done to Thor in the latest movie. They've made him fail by cutting off his hair. That's automatic failure.
Right.
you have to give him some years, Az.
I will. The emergency transplant.
I'm not talking about on the stuff on your head either.
No, well, the stuff down below, it's a bit curly, a bit longer.
Your mustache, obviously, Oz. Jesus.
Yeah, poor Thor. I can't believe it. The guy, he's been hipsterized. How could they do that? So that's an interesting
He
way
was
for
hipster
making a
already.
character. What's that? Yeah,
He was
a
hipster
bit.
already then. But now he's pedestrian hipster now.
Yeah, exactly. He's lamester now. He's
Yeah.
bad. He never could wear his long hair properly. He wore it like a Nickelback kind of someone in Nickelback, you know. Very lame. Sort of just limp and combed to the side. But yeah, now he's lost it completely. And he's got sabers. No, he's got like two like ridiculous swords that he wears on his back. That's not Thor. What the hell? And I don't care that I'm not talking about failure anymore because that's failure. Of
Yeah,
another
that
kind.
we left that horse on the
That
side
is
of the
failure,
road.
but not on the character.
That was my fault. That was purely my fault. But it's your guys' fault for indulging as well. So
Enablers.
Everything should be enhanced in the Quackcast. Everything makes it better. It makes it better. Oh well, I think we've come to a natural end for this particular Quackcast. We have failed.
We have failed. You see? Meta.
It always is. Yeah. Coming back full circle. Yeah. We've totally... So this has been the Failcast. I've been Ozone Ocean. I've been brought low. This is my moment.
now
of
we'll have
doubt
to
and
mercy kill him.
Yes. Oh, why hast thou forsaken me? Thank you very much for listening to the Quackcast, and thank you guys for being part of the Quackcast. Quackcast 314. Thank you.
Wow.
Merci.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye.
Well, we had three very different reactions there. That says something. I don't know what.
As soon as you say club, though, all I think of is a lot of crotches rubbing on other crotches.
Well, okay, what I keyed into was the promise of a companionship, but it never happens, or whatever you said there.
Yeah, it was very poetic. It was very nicely said.
It's very
That
upset.
it kind of, yeah,
Made me sad.
yeah.
Yeah.
Damn you, Ozone. You made me sad.
It's the vibe I was going for. It worked. Right.